Good morning, class. This is Dr. Lawrence Williams, and uh, wanted to, first of all, thank you for your attendance today. Last week, we spoke about um, server maintenance and server management and understanding uh, different types of networking. Um, Today, we're going to get into uh, cloud computing, and I know that you've heard quite a bit about the cloud. So today we're going to have a quick discussion about it. No worries, no fears. It's going to be very simplistic, uh, and it's not going to be a case where we will get too technical. Okay, being that this is a beginning class. So let me share my presentation with you. And as I stated, it's going to be, no pun intended, we're going to be talking from a very high level. So let's talk a little bit about the cloud technology, and have some, in a very simple format here. Today we're going to talk, we're going to get back to that server-based computing so that we can understand why there's such a need for cloud technology. Understand some of those perceived advantages of server-based computing and the disadvantages. Then I'm going to give you, I pride myself in giving great illustrations. So I'm going to give you an illustration that you'll never forget in reference to cloud technology. Okay, so keep that in the back of your mind. Keep in the back of your mind, you're going to get an illustration that is better than most. And within that illustration, you're going to understand the definition and then understand the advantages of cloud technology and the perceived disadvantages. Then afterwards, I think what we'll do is we'll get into what we're going to talk about next week, okay? And what I want you to really read about in your books, and then also take a look at and look it up in Google. That would be SAS, PAS, and IAS. Okay, so if what we're going to do is get the general information about cloud, and then next week get a little bit more detail. Okay, so let's get started. Server-based architecture, like we talked about last week, it's nothing more than you have a server or a computer at the center of the network, whereas several clients are accessing that particular computer. And on that computer can be some sort of business functionality, or it runs some sort of process, business process, whereas the solution would be some sort of data that the client, which would be in some cases yourself or a peer or what have you, would in fact receive. Okay, so that's the simple form of that. So really the perceived advantages are that you've got the server right there on the premise. So, and it's there delivering that functionality, that business functionality. And being that you have it on the premise, it is going to give you more control over your data, more control over the security, and you also have a software development environment, which means that if in fact you wanted to come in and customize and modify the software itself, you can do it because it's right there. Disadvantages. Generally, you're going to have to bring in someone, a resource that's going to do the monitoring and the maintenance of that particular server. In some cases, you may have to bring in different resources for different types of servers and different business functionalities. And as you grow as a business, or for very large businesses, you may have several servers. Very large companies have hundreds of servers, and they have server bays. So this makes for a case where you have to facilitate these servers. You have to make sure that they're kept at a certain temperature, and doesn't get too hot, doesn't get too cold. You have to. There's a lot of cost involved in that. Maintenance cost would be just like buying another computer. After so many years, that computer becomes obsolete, and you have to purchase another computer. You have to develop. Sometimes you have to update the computer with software releases and what have you. So there are a lot of costs that go into having a server. That's the reason why we get into what is called an IT money churn, where these you'll have CFOs that look at IT as nothing more than a cost center, because every time it's a vicious cycle. Develop a new functionality for business, or a new process that needs a server. Then you need there are maintenance costs involved, and there are resource costs involved, and so it can turn into a bit of a money pit. But what do we have? We have cloud services to come and save the day. And now it's time for my ultimate illustration. The ultimate illustration for cloud technologies would be, think of it when you go to turn on your light switch at home. You don't think about too much else other than that the lights are going to come on. You don't think about all the technology that goes into bringing you the service. You don't think about the transformers that are miles away, that provide you with electricity through certain gauges of wire, and what have you. We don't think of those things. If you're like me, you probably think of your light bill and whether or not it's paid. And if my light bill is paid, then I should be able to flick on my lights, and then voila, I can see with no problem. And this is basically the cloud concept. Whereas you're connected into the internet, the server is not on your premise. Okay, it is not on your premise. You have a vendor that is providing you with all the server, and server functionality and what have you. Okay, so you don't have to worry about having a server on your premise. Okay? As a matter of fact, the definition in simple terms is for cloud is computing. Cloud computing means storing and accessing data and programs over the internet instead of your computer hard drive, okay, or through some dedicated network, okay. The hardware is somewhere in the internet, okay, hence the cloud, okay. So basically the hardware is at a particular vendor, and you're utilizing the internet to get that functionality over to your computer. Cloud advantages, okay, now we don't need any dedicated resources. Okay? We don't need a guy that, we don't need a guy that all they do is come in and maintain the servers and things. We don't need that anymore. We don't need any server maintenance, updates, and making sure that the server itself is, the hardware itself is up to date, and sunsetting of hardware and what have you. We don't worry about that anymore. We don't have to worry about the room in the closet, or equipment costs, and all the costs that are associated with that. All those risks have been have relieved you. You've been relieved of all those risks. Now, I put here perceived disadvantages. These disadvantages that crept up, they crept up along the time when cloud first came out. And a lot of it was due to feeling the IT management feeling a little insecure about their own jobs. You know, if I don't do server maintenance, then what else do I need to do? I'm not updating servers and updating software on the servers and what have you. What I'm not going to have a job. So a lot of these come up, you know, that you don't have any security because the server is not there on your premise to implement your own security plan. You don't have control over the data, again, because the server is not there. And you don't have a software development, so you don't need a software development environment. So, and again, just because the server is not there. These are now outdated types of issues. The vendors, the main vendors out there that provide cloud service have really delved in deep to whereas you do have excellent security. They do allow you control over your data, and we'll learn a little bit about it. They do open up, they do give you some software development environment. So we'll learn a little bit more about that next week. So given that and eliminating those disadvantages, I'd have to say as a technology expert that cloud technology is one of the better ways of extending your business functionality. Through the use of limited resources, and I think it's one of the best ways of doing that. And we'll learn a little bit more about this next week in terms of through the terms that I told you about. Please do read about SAS, PAS, or PAS, or INIS. Okay, so and then go a little further and Google these terms, as they will in fact it'll help us with our discussion. and it really will help. And here's another pun: it really will help the light bulb go off. Okay, the light switch come on in terms of what cloud technology is all about. Again, thanks for your attendance, and we will in fact talk about those things that I stated we will talk about next week. Again, have a wonderful morning, and I'll see you next week.